Okay, everyone, this is lesson 4. We are working on putting the essay together, doing some transition writing, and editing the essay. As I'm giving you all feedback, we're going to do some maybe smaller conferences today and tomorrow to make sure your essays are the best versions that they can be this go around. So after you've finished working on some of the parts of your essay that we've worked on so far. You've worked on your body paragraph, and you've worked on your essay gathering, and yesterday you worked on your introduction. We're now going to move on to some transitions. What I'd like you to do is make sure you've incorporated some of the feedback I've given you as you continue. And that will make sure that you're making the right choices and decisions with your writing moving forward. So that was just kind of a quick overview for activity 2 and activity 3. For activity 3, we are going to work on smooth transitions between body paragraphs to eliminate wordiness, which is too many words to explain something, redundancies, which are repeated ideas that say the same thing. So really what we're trying to do is make our writing more efficient and clear. And we're going to use some transitions to help us do that. So transitions do a few things. It helps the readers move from one idea to the next. It's kind of like if you are with somebody and telling them to focus on certain things. A transition is like taking their shoulders and pointing them to the next thing that you want to focus on, and then the next thing that you want to focus on. Transitions don't stand out. They are typically simple. It can be things like then. It can be things like actually. It can be things like it seems like. And then we've got lists of transition words that I'll share with you or that you have access to in your Google Classroom also. And then there are transitions also help the reader understand the relationship between ideas that you're describing. And so we want to read an entire sentence or even 2 sentences to provide enough context so that we're using the correct transition word or phrase to make sure that those relationships are correctly explained. So on your card task, for card 1, when you're revising your transitions, you're going to ask yourself a couple questions after you reread your introduction body paragraphs. And when you reread, make sure that you are rereading the words as written and not what you want them to be. And what that means is our brains will autocorrect and make sentences, words that are not correct into correct versions because it's trying to find the right thing to read. If we're not reading carefully, slowly, every single word, then we're going to run into that issue where we get to the end of an essay and we've got a bunch of mistakes. So reread your introduction and body paragraphs carefully, and then ask yourself these 2 following questions. When I finish reading one paragraph and go to the next, is it clear what the relationship between the 2 paragraphs is? And then, do I use words that clearly explain how my evidence is connected to my claim? So an example, a relationship with time, you could say after the character realizes her mistake. If you're contrasting, which is differences, you could say something like despite or other evidence shows. these connections, just so we know, these are kind of the relationships that we're talking about. A cause and effect connection, which you, hint, hint, probably have a fair amount of because of the type of evidence that you're finding for the type of claim that you've made, because the narrator believed as a result of. So what you're going to do is try some of these transitions between your body paragraphs or within a sentence that connects your evidence to a claim. Reread your essay with these transitions and keep the ones you like best. And I will add one more step. Highlight your transitions in red so that I see where they are. Card 2. You're going to finish your essays by rereading and editing them so that they're ready to be published. When we say published, we mean a finished essay ready to be read by anyone or whoever we would want to read it. No more edits is what publish means. So please make sure you've handed in everything. If you're having difficulty, I will be able to help you with that. But your instructions are: read the introduction and body paragraph, look at the first sentence of your body paragraph and copy it below. Ask yourself, does the sentence transition my reader from my introduction to my claim? Does it tell the reader what my body paragraph is going to be about? Rewrite that first sentence of your body paragraph 2 different ways to connect your introduction to the body paragraph. Number each one. So you would write 1, then your first draft of the sentence, then 2, second draft. And this is 2 additional ways that you're writing it. Okay, so you have your copy and pasted version, and then 2 different ways. So you'll have 3 total versions. Be sure to hand that in. Activity 4, editing an essay. This is a very, very important step, and it goes back to reading carefully. That's our very first step when we're editing an essay. So you're going to try to find errors to make corrections in your essay. These are multiple types of errors. You could have cups errors, capitalization, usage, punctuation, or spelling errors. You could have homophones, which are words that sound alike but are spelled differently. There, T-H-E-R-E, T-H-E-I-R. Maybe your pronouns are a little bit off. Maybe you need an antecedent to help your reader understand the pronoun that you're talking about. Maybe you need some subject-verb agreement so that your noun and verb are on the same page. There's a lot of different errors that we all make as writers, especially in the earlier stages of our writing. And we want to try to find as many as we can. So you're rereading your whole essay to make sure that it makes sense for your reader. Okay, are you communicating what you're trying to communicate? You will need to read slowly and carefully because you want to make sure it reads smoothly and what you described for your ideas are explained in the right order. If you need to cut and paste and move things around, you can. That's part of the editing process. In fact, all of you should be doing that. As young writers, I don't expect perfection. I expect you to see things that you want to change to make it better. Remember, your job is to make sure your reader understands the thoughts that you are having about these topics. So 1, arrange what you have written in the appropriate order. Make sure you incorporate your revisions in your body paragraphs. This list shows you how your pieces go together, your introduction, your body paragraphs with revisions, and then your conclusion. Read your essay aloud, quietly. Is it clear how each sentence follows from the sentence before it? Rewrite sentences that are out of order or missing something to make that connection better. Does your writing sound like a written essay, or do you have words or phrases that sound out of place in a school essay? Make sure you have punctuated and cited your quotations correctly. Click Next to refer to the guidelines for citing and punctuating direct quotes. That's on another card. Any correct any errors in spelling, punctuation, and grammar that you can find. And once you get to card 3, you're going to hand it in. Here is your direct quotations. Please make sure you're following this. All you're doing is mimicking exactly what it shows, right? But you're using your own evidence. So use both of these, whichever is appropriate for your essay, as we've done in the past. In card 3, here's your checklist for editing. Indent the first sentence of each paragraph. If you use Tab on your keyboard, that should work. If not, do a consistent number of spaces. So if your sentence starts here, the thing is, if your tab button is working, hit space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then when your next paragraph starts, hit space 5 times, but only at the beginning of each paragraph. Capitalize the first letter of every sentence. Make sure every sentence ends with a period or question mark or an exclamation point. Review your spelling, particularly commonly misspelled words. As I always say, if you don't know how to spell something, look it up. Check that direct quotes are cited according to the guidelines we use for citing and punctuation. That's your checklist. I will take points off for these things that you can look up. So if I see misspelled words, that means you didn't look it up. If I see sentences that don't end with a period, that means you weren't reading for the end of a sentence. You need to read carefully so that you understand when a thought or a complete idea ends, and just put a period there. If I see a lack of capital letters at the beginning of a sentence, that means you didn't find your period, most likely, and you decided not to find your capital letters. And of course, indentations need to be made. Editing is a careful and slow process, but it makes your writing so much better. Please choose to focus and do not be lazy while you're editing. After that, we are going to share. All right, everybody, good luck.